Zulfikar Mirza continues to be a very powerful voice in Sindh. Do you see People's Party weakening in Sindh?
Good point again, Quatrina. Very good point. This is what our leader has been talking about. We are not for any militant groups militant groups or militant, some outfits in any political party. We are against that. Whether it's Aman Committee, whether it's the militant wing of the NQM or it's any other party. Even Jamaat Islami has been named as such, and ANP has been talked about also.
They've all been named by the Supreme Court.
It's only our party probably which has been spared by the Supreme Court judgment. And they have said so. And we are not for the politics.
To be specific, the Supreme Court talked about extortion. So
what would happen to the People's Party? It's for the People's Party to feel as to how
are you assessing it? How are you assessing it? Is there something that you think the People's Party is running into troubled waters in Sindh?
Well, this is that's not for us.
That's not for you.
It's their internal affair. If they become weaker and there's a split in them and there's a problem with them, well, it could be.
Because these are all very dangerous omens here. Senator, let me be very specific in my question. Punjab could be your potential battleground because of the PML-N, and Sindh could now turn into a potential battleground because of Dr. Zulfikar Mirza, an erstwhile ally of the President of Pakistan. What is your party doing to deal with that particular problem?
Well, one thing I want to respond is that the reference has been given to a judgment of the Supreme Court where there's been mention about the certain groups in certain political parties.
About extortion.
Extortion.
Yeah.
Well, in fact, People's Party never recognized Aman Committee as a part of its party. If it was formed by any individual, then it was an act of an individual. It was not a party responsible for that. Secondly, as far PML-N was concerned, probably they are much excited and jubilant that their name did not figure in that verdict, and that reason could be that the political party PML-N, at the moment it looks that it is in a non-existence in Karachi also. They do not figure out in Karachi. One thing.
Yes, yeah. I mean, the truth is the truth. They have no presence in Karachi or Sindh. Yes.
And secondly, we have no parliamenary presence there.
Parliamentary presence. Okay, I will give you that.
We have no presence there. That's fine.
Okay, fair enough.
Let me correct you. And let's go to the streets of Karachi.
That's an issue. As far you mentioned about the battleground. I don't think so. It should be called as a battleground. They could be a competition between all different political parties in different provinces, obviously. And
I'm a journalist. I'm allowed to use words like battlegrounds. I said, I'm a journalist. I'm allowed to use exotic words like battlegrounds.
Surely, that's your option. That's your option. Well, in fact, if you see the 60% population of Pakistan, which is putting up in province of Punjab, and what are their issues, and how the governance is going over there, and how people are satisfied about that.
Let me ask you one specific question, sir. Very importantly. The money that the Prime Minister gave for resolving the energy crisis, it was purely temporary. It's a stopgap measure. That money will run out, as I said, between 48 to 72 hours. And you'll be faced with massive load shedding again all over the country in less than 3 days. What is your government planning to do?
One thing I tell you, what were the reasons for this, load shedding? We know
the reasons, sir. We are saying, what are you going to do next?
Exactly, but let me tell you. In fact, when this crisis was on the higher side, in fact, the canals were not accepting the water to be released from the dams. This was one of the reasons that the hydro production was dropped down. This was one of the reasons.
That was 3 years ago.
No, this year also.
This year also.
This year also.
Okay.
Due to floods, the IRSA could not release the water for that. This was one of the reasons that why the production was dropped down. Secondly, is that's which has been talked about, the circular debt. This is a debt which we inherited since 3 years back, 3.5
But haven't done anything to reduce.
Point is this. It accumulated in 2007. That was a year of the election, And you would recall where the prices of our oil had gone at that time.
Yes.
It had increased so much that it went beyond $140 per barrel. And the government at that time, they were in the election process, And the whole debt accumulated at that time. And the resources which the government of Pakistan has right now, we were not in a position to pay off all those circular debts. Certainly,
Senator,
that
may I
was one
ask
of the
you,
reasons.
Your government
And
your government borrows 3 billion rupees a day from Pakistani banks. What are you spending that money on?
My point is this. Have you seen what's the deficit of your budget, you know?
Of course I have. But
You
the
know,
point
what's
is,
the number, you know?
offhand, no, I'm sure Humayun Sahab could tell us, but you tell me, what is it?
So you have to see how to generate your resources, you know.
What's your priority?
And people aren't paying income tax right now.
What is your priority?
Our priority is that our GDP should be on a higher side. But it's very unfortunate.
Please, sir, just answer
it
this
has
one
been very
question
unfortunate. Last year also.
3 billion a day is more zeros than I can count in a month.
But I'm not in knowledge of that, what the figure which you have got. I'm not in knowledge of.
This is
nor I am an economist, you know. Nor I am an economist. I don't know about that. You know, one thing is for sure, that the budget which we gave it was approved by the National Assembly at that time. One thing.
Yes.
The mini
Yes. Okay.
So,
you know, this
it was approved, and we have to go by that. And secondly, either you have to go, you sell your assets, or you borrow something. Either you borrow domestically, or you borrow from the international agencies.
Are you aware of the statistic that says that your government in 3.5 years has borrowed just a little bit less than what previous governments have borrowed in 64 years?
Yes. Well, one thing I tell you, it has been very unfortunate if you go back to 77 onward, you know, and particularly when 79 onward, when the Afghanistan crisis started, money started pouring in. The population went on an increase. There were no measures taken. There was no measures taken.
Compared to 3.5 years,
No,
that's a little different.
There was no measures taken to generate your resources. And the day there was a Camp David Accord, then the aid was withdrawn. Then ultimately the political government had to go for either loans or privatization.
Right.
That
okay.
was the thing.
Humayun Sahab, you're the expert in this. When I quote these figures of 3 billion a day, our equivalent, borrowing in 3.5 years, just short of what previous governments have borrowed in 64 years. Do you know what the government is spending its money on? If not paying off the circular debts doesn't seem to be a priority, then where is the money going?
May I respond to some remarks Mr. Nayyar Bokhari made earlier? When on 15th November 2007, when our government completed its term, the circular debt stood at 50 billion rupees, and I'm ready to prove that at any forum. The state bank borrowing stood at 23 billion. 1 year later, the state bank borrowing stood at 682 billion. That is when we went to the IMF in 2008. That wasn't our doing. We weren't responsible for that. The government is borrowing huge sums of money. Reason being, they estimated a budget deficit much lower than expected in the budget. So the money was not there. The external assistance they expected is not coming because they have dropped the IMF program. I basically am against an IMF program, but either the government shows fiscal discipline itself or they go under the IMF discipline. Otherwise, the multilateral financial institutions and even the bilateral donors are not going to come forth with the external assistance that they promise. And that is why the government is going to the state bank and printing money. And bear in mind, it's not a source of income. It is a highly inflationary thing to do. You cannot borrow from the central bank. You cannot borrow from the central bank more than 1.5% of the GDP. And this government has been in power for almost 4 years now. Why don't they work on expanding the revenue base? I mean, it is unfortunate that in this country, 50% of the economy is documented, 50 is underground economy, and of that 50%, just 1/4 pays the tax. Why doesn't the government tax all the sectors of the economy? Why doesn't the government announce that anybody who earns income beyond a certain level in Pakistan has to pay tax? Why are huge communities like the agriculture community or the services community or the stockbrokers or the real estate tycoons, I mean, good, they make money. We are happy for them when they make money, but they have to make their contribution into the state coffers. Why doesn't this government do that? Why do they go and borrow 2-3 billion rupees a day from the central bank, and then when the next government comes, they will leave it to them to handle this huge hyperinflation problem?
Okay, Humayun Sahab, thank you for that one. You said that your government, when you left in November 2007, left a circular debt of 50 billion rupees. Today, that circular debt
Absolutely.
stands at more than 600 billion rupees, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
Sorry,
right.
what
That's
is it
right.
stand at?
That's right.
300 billion rupees, excuse me. Correct me for that. When I hear too many numbers, I get confused.
No,
so 300 billion today, 50 billion then.
300 billion, Quatrina, 300 billion is only Pepco, okay? And if you add all the corporations this year, it's much higher.
It's higher. Okay. General Qadir Baloch, I want you to also add what you want to say before I give Nayyar Sahab a chance to respond to that. These figures are, I'm no economist, okay? In fact, I nearly flunked economy when I was in college. 50 billion rupees circular debt in November 2007. And if, I'm sure Humayun Sahab will remind me, but I think Forex reserves at that time were somewhere close to $12 billion. How did it end up at more than 300 billion rupees today? And government borrowing, Humayun Sahab says he's got documentation to prove it, 23 billion at that time, 682 billion in 1 year. What's happening?
Quatrina, I'm sure the time is running out, and hereafter I may not get a chance of putting up further arguments.
Yeah.
I talked about many things, but I didn't speak about the corruption. There's a massive corruption, unfortunately. In state-managed entities, that's railway, PI, steel mills, Wapada, the losses, the corruption has been to the tune of 1,000 billion rupees.
Can you prove it?
Yes, prove it's already there. The figures are there.
The figures don't show corruption. The figures show some confusion. Prove it.
Everything is running. The railway, where is it now? Can you see it? What's happening to the PI?
They are going to shut down passenger services in Pakistan Railways soon.
They are running services.
They are saying that they're going to shut down passenger services.
They are shutting down so many lines have been shut down. They don't have engines to run the trains.
Right.
PI, what's happening to them? Just 2 days back, they had come to the President and the Prime Minister asking for how many billions of rupees, I think over 60 or 70 billion rupees, they wanted. And similarly, see as to what's happening to the WAPDA, the PEPCO, what's happening to them. And see as to what's happening with reference to you paying up circular debt and so on. I mean, they went for the energy crisis. They went for those,
In your opinion, General Saab, do these figures that Humayun Sahab has just given us, and I have no reason to dispute them because I vaguely recall that these were the figures then, do you see anything that can legitimize the kind of expenses that the People's Party has run up, the costs that People's Party has run up? Can it be explained away, in your opinion, because of the energy price?
There is no legitimacy whatsoever. These state-managed entities that I talked about, they are being headed all by the cronies of this government. Okay. Professionals are no more there. They talked with us actually during their 10-point agenda of business, which went on for about 45 days. They said that they are going to give international aids,
right,
in getting people of international repute and competence to run these institutions.
Which
and that didn't happen. That didn't happen. Even the guys.
So many commitments made have not happened. State-owned enterprises, you had demanded that the leaders change in that 45 days that you'd given, didn't happen. Senator, just please explain to me, I don't understand what the government is spending the money on. How could you have gone from 23 billion to 682 billion in 1 year of borrowing? Why?
Well, Quatrina, this is figure given by Humayun Khan. Whatever.
Okay, let's forget the figures.
If you allege something, then it should be substantiated by some evidence also. One thing. Secondly, you would recall, how much money the province of Punjab has borrowed from the federal government, and how much money they are taking from other banks. One thing.
Okay.
That should be examined also.
Absolutely.
Because it's a 60% population of Pakistan putting up over there, and you see their governance also, and how things are being managed over there. Task force are doing the business, and the ministers are not allowed.
The federal government of its responsibilities.
Secondly, as far PI is concerned, you would recall that during Shaukat Aziz's period, PI had bought planes at that time.
Okay. The 777s.
777s.
Right.
And they were bought, money was not taken out from your kitty, but it was, a loan was taken for that. And today, the interest which is being